Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Thank you, Nitya Vishuri. Sang so nicely from your heart. So, we will start today, chapter 12, Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. One of the smallest chapters is Bhakti Yoga, 12, and chapter 15, Purushottam Yoga. This is the smallest one, 20 verses. The Arjun question, chapter 11. There are two. First verse, Arjun asked, which one is the best? Impersonal for worship or personal? Then Krishna will explain up to text 11 how devotional service is about. The different stages also, like a ladder, but topmost is Bhakti Yoga, worshiping Lord in personal form. And last 8 verses, Krishna is explaining who is his pure devotee. Now Arjuna's question. This question almost similar to chapter 3 and chapter 5 first question. Arjuna vacha evam shatata yukta e bhaktastam pachupashate je chopi aksharam abhaktam teshamke yogavittama. Arjuna vacha, Arjuna said, evam das shatata yukta, always engaged, je, those who, bhakta, devotees, tvam, you, purjupashate, upashate means worship, upashate worship, purjupashate means properly worship. Pro or pur means properly, like bhata prabhat, prakrishta, udaharan prakrishta, the prefix. The pori upashate, purjupashate. Properly worship. J, those who also. Api again. Aksharam, beyond the senses. Akshar. Aksharam means beyond the senses. Akshar actually means Akshar means Akshar means fallible. Akshar infallible. That means Aksharam, that Lord, which is beyond our perception, beyond the senses. Abhyaktam, the unmanifested. Tesham, of them. Ke yogavittama, ke, who? Yogavittama. Yogavit. Vit means knowledgeable. Yogavit means knowledge of yoga. And tama means topmost. Tama. Like Gujja, Gujjatara, Gujjatama. So, Yogavittama means the most perfect in knowledge of yoga. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahma, the unmanifested? It is clear, no? Those who worship the impersonal Brahma, unmanifested. That means those who worship personal Brahma, that means devotional service. Arjuna want to clarify. Those who are always engaged in pure devotional service means in personal form, or those who worship the impersonal Brahma, unmanifested. Who is the topmost? Arjuna naturally was not impersonalist. Why Why is asking them? Or do you want to clarify? He is a worshipper or personal form. He is in right path or not? I am not in right. I am in right direction or not? Just want to justify from Krishna again. Krishna has now explained about the personal and impersonal and the universal, and has described all kinds of devotees and yogis. Generally, the transcendentalist can be divided into two classes. One is the impersonalist and other is the personalist, Nirakarvadi and Shakarvadi. The personalist devotee engages himself with all energy in the service of the Supreme Lord. The impersonalist, who engages himself not directly in the service of Krishna, but in meditation on the impersonal Brahma, the unmanifested. We find in this chapter that of the different processes of realization of the absolute truth, Bhakti Yoga, devotional service is the highest. If one at all describes to have the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he must take to devotional service. Those who worship the Supreme Lord directly by devotional service are called personalists, or in Sanskrit, Sakarvadi, so-akar, with form worship. Those who engage themselves in meditation on the impersonal Brahma are called impersonalists, or Nirakarvadi, or Nirvisheshvadi. Savisheshvadi, Nirvisheshvadi, Sakarvadi, Nirakarvadi. Arjuna is here questioning whose position is better. There are different ways to realize the absolute truth, but Krishna indicates in this chapter that Bhakti Yoga or devotional service to him means worshipping in the personal form of the Lord is the highest of all. It is the most direct and it is the easiest means for association with the Godhead. Topmost and easiest. Anywhere, if we want to buy or get something, we want to get it cheapest and best. If you want to sell someone, you should make them understand it is cheapest and it is the best. Naturally, we also want which is the cheapest and the best. The Bhakti Yoga is like that. Easiest and the best. In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord explained that a living entity is not the material body. He is a spiritual spark. And the absolute truth is the spiritual whole. In the seventh chapter, he spoke of the living entity as being part and parcel of the Supreme Whole and recommended that he transfer his attention fully to the whole. Then again in the eighth chapter, it was said that anyone who thinks of Krishna at the time of quitting his body is at once transferred to the spiritual sky, to the abode of Krishna. And at the end of the sixth chapter, the Lord clearly said that all of the yogis who always thinks of Krishna within himself is considered the most perfect. Yoginam api sarvesham mat katenu antaratmana. So, in practically every chapter, the conclusion has been that one should be attached to the personal form of Krishna, for that is the highest spiritual realization. Nevertheless, there are those who are not attached to the personal form of Krishna. They are so firmly detached that even in the preparation of commentaries of the Bhagavad Gita, they want to distract other people from Krishna and transfer all devotion to the impersonal Brahman. They prefer to meditate on the impersonal form of the Absolute Truth, which is beyond the reach of the senses and is not manifest. And so, factually, there are two classes of transcendentalists. Now, Arjuna is trying to settle the question of which is easier and which is the classes is most perfect. In other words, he is clarifying his own position because he is attached to the personal form of Krishna. He is not attached to the impersonal Brahman. He wants to know whether his position is secure. The impersonal manifestation, either in the material world or in the spiritual world of the Supreme Lord, is a problem for meditation. How one can meditate? Something has no form. In that meditation, you can sleep nicely. Other than no benefit will come. Actually, one cannot perfectly conceive of the impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth. Therefore, Arjuna wants to say, what is the use of such a waste of time? Arjuna experienced in the 11th chapter that to be attached to the personal form of Krishna is the best, because he could thus understand all other forms at the same time, and there was no disturbance to his love for Krishna. This important question asked of Krishna by Arjuna will clarify the distinction between the impersonal and personal conceptions of the Absolute Truth. So it is not the first question. This type of question came before also. Krishna has given answer also. That it showing that still it is not clear. Now, Krishna is giving this conclusion. Which was the best? The second verse is giving the answer, complete answer. And other 18 verses, actually, expansion. Summary is here only to second verse. If somebody asks question, when we have seen, if somebody asks question, he explains 5-10 minutes. Just if I ask you, what is the capital of USA? And if you give the answer 5 minutes, that means you're not clear. If you know it's New Year, yes, anyone. If you give answer in 5 minutes, that means you don't know. So here, people want to, yes, you can say it is New Year, then try to explain this is another thing. But when you are giving the answer after 5 minutes explanation, so by that time the questioner will be, oh, he hasn't understood my question. He will unmindful. You give the answer, yes, New Year, and why it is capital, you can explain other 50 states or the other. There is another thing. But give the answer fast. In the same way, Krishna is giving the answer in second verse. Question one line, answer one line. And explanation. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Moi avashya manojeva nityajukta pashat. Shraddhaya paraya upetas. Teme yukta tamamataha. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Moi unto me. Avashya fixing. Mana the mind. Ye, those who, mam, me, nitya always, yukta, engaged, upashate, worship, shraddha with faith, paraya, transcendent, upeta, endowed, te, they may by me, Yuktatama, most perfect in yoga, Mata, are considered. Here you see, what is the question? Question, Tesham ke yogavittama. Yogavittama. Who is his topmost yogi? Tesham. Tesham, amongst them, who is the topmost yogi? So question is, who is yogavittama? Answer is Shuddha Paraputas, Teme Yuktatama Mata. Mata, my conclusion, they are Yuktatama. Yogavittama, Yuktatama. So, in one line answer is given. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most powerful. Yogavittama is Yuktatama. Tama. The same word should use. Other jo question I think Prabhu has not understood my question. As I asked, Yogavittama, who is Tama? He has Yuktatama. Then if we answer in his language, then yes, he has understood my question. In answer to Arjuna's question, Krishna clearly says that he who concentrates upon his personal form and who worships him with faith and devotion is to be considered most perfect in yoga. For one, in such Krishna consciousness, there are no material activities because everything is done for Krishna. A pure devotee is constantly engaged. Sometimes he chants, sometimes he hears or reads books about Krishna, or sometimes he cooks prasadam, or goes to the marketplace to purchase something for Krishna, or sometimes he washes the temple or the dishes. Whatever he does not let a single moment pass without devoting his activities to Krishna. Such action is in full samadhi. Now, they are Yogavittama, Teme Yogavit, Yuktatama Mata. Now question may come, what about other group? Let's now explain what is other group. Those who are not Yogavittama, what is their condition? Jetu aksharam anirdesham abhyaktam parjapashati sarvatra gam achintam cha kudastha achalam dhruvam sanniyamendriyo gramam sarvatra samuddha te prapnavati mameva sarvoti. Je, those who, through but aksharam, that which is beyond the perception of senses, or nirdesham, indefinite, abhyaktam, unmanifested, purjupashate, completely engaged in worshipping. Here purjupashate, upashate, purjupashate. Sarvatra gam, all pervading. Gam means common, can go, enter. Sarvatra gam, can enter everywhere, all pervading. Achintam, inconceivable. Chinta, we cannot even think about it. Achinta. So also, kudastham, unchanging. Achalam, immovable. Dhruvam, fixed. Shanyamam, shanyamam. Shanyam, controlling. Niyam, niyama, shanyam. Niyam, jam, niyam. Niyama, shanyam. Shammuk prepared niyam. Control. Indriya, gramam. Grama means plural number. Indriya grama means all the senses. Sarvatra, everywhere. Some Buddha equally disposed. They prapnuvanti, achieve, mam, me, eva certainly, sarvabhuto hite, for the welfare of all living entities, rataha, engaged. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed, and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. Those who do not directly worship the Supreme Godhead, Krishna, but who attempts to achieve the same goal by an indirect process, also ultimately achieve the same goal, Sri Krishna. After many births, the man of wisdom seeks refuge in me, knowing that Vasudeva is all. Bahunam janmanamanti gyanavan mantra. He knows after many births. Those who accept Krishna consciousness, this is the Krishna deity. Pay obeisances, cook for him, offer bhoga. Yes, you understood. What is gaining? They needs. Many. Bahunam janmanam. When a person comes to full knowledge after many births, he surrenders unto Lord Krishna. If one approaches the Godhead by the method mentioned in the verse, he has to control the senses, render service to everyone, and engage in the welfare of all beings. It is inferred that one has to approach Lord Krishna. Otherwise, there is no perfect realization. Often there is much penance involved before one fully surrenders unto him. In order to perceive the Supreme Soul within the individual soul, one has to cease the sensual activities of seeing, hearing, tasting, working, etc. Then one comes to understand that the Supreme Soul is present everywhere. Realizing this, one envies no living entities. He sees no difference between man and animal, because he sees soul only, not the outer covering. But for the common man, this method of impersonal realization is very difficult. Now we got the two answers. First answer was so easy to understand for personal form. But how do you understand in second impersonal? So big explanation. Look like you have not understood anything. Now, few verses explain more. Klesho adhiko staro tesham अव्यक्त आशक्त चेतोषाम अव्यक्त ही गति दुखम देहवद्भिरवाप क्लेश अधिकतर क्लेश ट्रबल अधिकतर वेरी मच two path personal impersonal is क्लेश ट्रबल अधिकतर very much trouble तेषाम of them whom Abhyakta Ashakta Chetasha. Abhyakta Ashakta. To the unmanifested Ashakta attached Chetasha of those whose minds. Abhyakta towards the unmanifested, he certainly Goti progress, the come, to travel. Dehavadhi by the embodied Avapate is achieved. Just imagine, you have one friend, you are traveling with him, and he's so austere, he went to someone's house, he takes one chapati after 3 days. So, do you want to travel next time with him? Because he's not eating or you are eating nothing. So, he may be good, but he's not good for your travel. In the same way, those who have body, it is for them worshipping impersonal difficult. If you have some, if worship, you have body, if you worship, those who have body is easy. But those who have no body, how you worship? Another thing, see, you are going, and there is, in the road, there is bifurcation. One man is standing. I want to go daily. Which is the path? You say, yes. In both ways you can go. In one path, you can just drive 2 hours, you will reach there. And this another path, it takes almost 2 months. So many mountains, it's rivers, so many ferocious animals also. And in the rivers, you may not get in a boat also. Maybe you have to swim sometimes. If you swim, there are some crocodiles also. But somebody can try also. There is also. So what does it mean? He is telling you to go this way or that way. You have to little intelligence. What is going to say? He is not telling that this is not the path. No. He has told. If you become rascal, then no, that is also. He told, in this way you can go also after 2 months. Let's give it trial. 2 months you can go. So many times we go in 2 hours. This time we want to go this way for 2 months. It is not an intelligent person. Those who think in such. For those whose mind are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. The group of transcendentalists who follow the path of inconceivable, unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord are called Gyanju. And persons who are in full Krishna consciousness, engaged in devotional service to the Lord, are called Bhakti Yogas. Now, here the difference between Gyan Yogi and Bhakti Yogi is definitely expressed. The process of Gyan Yoga, although ultimately bringing one to the same goal, is very troublesome. Whereas the path of Bhakti Yoga, the process of being in direct service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is easier and is natural for the embodied soul. The individual soul is embodied since time immemorial. It is very difficult for him to simply theoretically understand that he is not the body. Therefore, the Bhakti Yogi accepts the deity of Krishna as worshipable because there is some bodily conception fixed in the mind which can thus be applied. Of course, worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his form within the temple is not idol worship. There is evidence in the Vedic literature that worship may be Shagun and Nirgun, of the Supreme possessing or not possessing attributes. Worship of deity in the temple is Shagun worship. Gun means qualities, with qualities, Shagun, not Nirgun. For the Lord is represented by the material qualities, but the form of the Lord, though represented by material qualities, such as stone, wood, or oil paint, is not actually material. That is absolute nature of the Supreme Law. Wow. Question: if it is stone, wood, oil, paint, how it is not material? Answer is there. If it is a copper wire and electricity passing, that is not actually copper wire now. It's electricity. No, how it is not? Rascal, touch it, you will understand. A crude example, Prabhupada has given this example, mailbox. So many places. Here in the 12th chapter, 5th verse, Prabhupada, for to make us the impersonal understand that why deity is not a statue. Why the worship personal from the topmost. This example is very nice. A crude example may be given here. We may find some mailbox on the street, and if we post our letters in those boxes, they'll naturally go to their destination without difficulty. But any old box or an invitation which may find somewhere, but which is authorized by the post office, will not do the work. Similarly, God has an authorized representation in the deity form, which is called Archa Vigraha, mailbox Archa Vigraha. This Archa Vigraha is an incarnation of the Supreme Law. God will accept service through that form. The Lord is omnipotent, all-powerful. Therefore, by his incarnation as Archa Vigraha, he can accept the services of the devotee, just to make it convenient for the man in conditioned life. So for a devotee, there is no difficulty in approaching the Supreme immediately and directly. But for those who are following the impersonal way to spiritual realization, the path is difficult. They have to understand the unmanifested representation of the Supreme through such Vedic literatures as the Upanishads, and they have to learn the language, understand the non-perpetual feelings, and realize all these processes. This is not very easy for a common man, a person in Krishna consciousness engaged in devotional service. Simply by the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, simply by offering regulative obeisance unto the deity, simply by hearing the glories of the Lord, and simply by eating the remnants of foodstuffs offered to the Lord. Realizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead very easily. There is no doubt that the impersonalists are unnecessarily taking a troublesome path, with the risk of not realizing the absolute truth at the ultimate end. But the personalist, without any risk, trouble, or difficulty, approaches the Supreme Personality directly. A similar passage appears in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is stated there that if one ultimately has to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but instead take the trouble to understand that Brahma, what is Brahma and what is not Brahma, and spends his whole life in that way, the result is simply troublesome. Therefore, it is advised here that one should not take up this troublesome path of self-realization, because there is unnecessary in the ultimate result. Because there is uncertainty in the ultimate result. So much difficulty, still there is no certainty that we should reach. A living entity is eternally an individual soul, and if he wants to merge into the spiritual whole, he may accomplish the realization of the eternal and knowledgeable aspects of his original nature. But the blissful portion is not realized. By the grace of some devotee, such a transcendentalist, highly learned in the process of Gyan Yoga, may come to the point of Bhakti Yoga or devotional service. At that time, long practice in impersonalism also becomes a source of trouble because he cannot give up the idea. Therefore, an embodied soul is always in difficulty with the unmanifest, both at the time of practice and at the time of realization. Every living soul is partially independent, and one should know for certain that this unmanifested realization is against the nature of his spiritual blissful self. One should not take up this process. For every individual living entity, the process of Krishna consciousness, which entails full engagement in devotional service, is the best way. If one wants to ignore this devotional service, there is the danger of turning to atheism. Thus, the process of centering attention on the unmanifested, the inconceivable, which is beyond the approach of the senses, as already expressed in this verse, should never be encouraged at any time, especially in this age of Kali. It is not advised by Lord Krishna. Krishna is not telling that don't accept this path. He said only is kileshodhik taradesha. Like if a spiritual master, you have a spiritual master, two friends has come, two disciples come to you, and a spiritual master explained this way. This path is klesha. And if you are a personalist, if you are his good friend, what will say? Rascal, understand what Guru Maharaj want to say. Guru Maharaj wanted to say, it is not advised by the Lord Krishna. Try to understand this point. He is not directly saying, don't do this. But actually, it is the meaning. Try to understand this. Thus, the process of centering attention on the unmanifested, the inconceivable, which is beyond the approach of the senses, as already expressed in this verse, should never be encouraged at any time, especially in this case. It is not advised by Lord Krishna. That is the need of purpose. Krishna, what Krishna want to say? People know Krishna never told us, don't do this. He said you can do this. But as a friend, what will you learn? He is not telling that you can do this. He is telling so troublesome. Better instead of telling don't go, he is telling this way. Try to understand this point. But less intelligent person, after reading Bhagavad Gita, giving their purpose, again giving impersonalist. How? Because Krishna, those who are not what is called fully surrendered or thoroughly honest, Krishna will give them some curtains so that he cannot understand. Curtain of Maya, so that even after reading Bhagavad Gita, they will not understand. But those who are sincere soul, fully surrendered to spiritual master, Krishna will remove the curtain. And by reading Bhagavad Gita, they will easily understand. Like you see, millions of people, by reading Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, easily they understand, hey, Krishna is God. When they surrender to Srila Prabhupada, it's clear to them. But so many scholars in India, Sanskrit scholar, as they are not blessed by their spiritual master, they become, it's called, commentator of Bhagavad Gita of impersonalism. Okay, I took so much time. Already 9 minutes over. Gaurangi Bhardas. If answer is one shot, then I'll.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj Dandavat Pranam. Actually, my question is from yesterday's class. From many days I have this question that Srila Prabhupada writes there that a pure devotee does not want to go back home, back to Godhead. Means, and also in Mam Janmani Janmani Shware. And many times we say our goal is to go back home, back to Godhead. So what should we understand? Should pure devotee want to go back home, back to
Yes.
Godhead?
Why they want to go back to Godhead? To serve. That means they are not interested to go back to Godhead for their pleasure. They want to go back Godhead for their service. Devotees are interested to go back to Godhead. Yes, they want to go back to Godhead for service. That is the purport of both statement. Amrita, go.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, beloved senses. Maharaj, here Prabhupada is saying that Krishna takes this form of Archa Vigraha to accept service. So my question is that does Archa Vigraha needs Pran Pratishtha, or Krishna is saying Archa Vigraha itself is me?
Yeah, it's Pran Pratishtha, because if devotee, Lord is there, if pure devotee is not there to worship, how will manifest? This pure devotee's desire, he will manifest. Other Krishna is everywhere. When some devotee want to serve him, only that time will manifest. Otherwise, how will manifest?
Yes.
Okay. Last question, Himanshu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Danatma, please accept my humble obeisances. Maharaj, in last paragraph, there was mentioning of that every living soul is partially independent. So I'm just unable to understand why the partially word is used.
Are you independent or not independent? You can join the class or not. You can read Bhagavad Gita or not. But you're independent, but not fully independent. Like you're independent to see, right or not?
Yeah.
But if it is dark, no sun, able to see?
No.
There is dependent in every sphere. You can eat or not eat, is independent. But you are thrown somewhere else, there is no food. You are dependent.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you. Gulshan's Namrashitan. Let us question tomorrow. Hare Shri Prabhupada. Gautam.